My name is Chris and I'm really glad you made it over to my YouTube channel. I'm basically waiting for Corona to pass so I can finally travel again. It's been 6 months nearly and I spent the time to go through my old archives, select some of the best pictures and videos from there to present it on my weekly travel show on Twitch. Every Monday at 8 p.m. It's an interactive show so everyone can join and be part of the chat. Let me know in the comments if you want to see any other topics, any other countries. And also I would appreciate the like and a subscription with the bell icon, of course, and tell your friends that like to travel. Thank you so much and have a good day. Bye bye.
Hello everyone, welcome to my travel show. Today I'm going to talk about a quite unknown hike in Patagonia. As you know, Patagonia is a huge area in South America, world renowned for its trekking treks. And Cabo Froward, that's basically what I want to show you today. I've been there in 2014 and it's one of those little secret spots, I would say. Maybe not secret, it's not secret for sure, but it's not as famous as, let's say, El Chalten or Torres del Paine. Those two will be topics for another time, and I'm gonna need quite some time to show you everything that I've seen and experienced there. Cabo Froward, that's basically also it's in Chile. It's down here, somewhere here. Wait, where was it again? Okay. So it's actually down here. It's not in Patagonia anymore. It's in the Terra del Fuego. And this little point here, that's Cabo Froward. The next biggest city is Punta Arenas, and from there you basically have to take a 4x4 to drive up to the coast. And all of this, as you can see, there's no road here. So that's the track. You can drive to the end of the road. Is that the road? Yeah. So this is the end of the road, and from here you basically have to trek. And the cool thing about that trek is that it's very, very, well, let's say challenging, and you have to plan your trip definitely. And the reason is you have a bunch of river crossings, so that makes the trek really interesting. On standard, there are 3 huge rivers to cross. Even on low tide, you will not be able to just, kind of wade through it. It's going to be at least waist deep in low tide, and that's where the planning part comes in. You have high tide and low tide, and you have to make sure that you arrange your campsites and river crossings according to the high and low tide, because you might be stuck in certain areas because you can't cross the river anymore in high tide unless you want to swim and get all your gear completely wet. And yeah, when I was doing the trip, it was really, really bad weather. So it's been raining for a week prior to the trip, non-stop. And I was talking to the couch surfing people that I was staying with, and they said, yeah, it's probably not the best time to go. But I wanted to at least give it a try. So on day X, we drove down. They were so nice, and they gave me a lift from the city. So we drove down from Punta Arenas over here with the 4x4 to the end of the road. And that's where they basically left me. And I'm going to start showing you the pictures at this stage now. So, 1 second. Wait, I have to switch you over first to the full screen mode. All right. Oh, my Winamp. So, this is basically where the story begins, right? The weather was really shit, and even on the same day, it was still raining quite a bit. They double checked with me, are you sure you want to do this? Because it's going to be miserable. And yeah, I said, yeah, I'll do it. I'll see you in a week, because it takes around 4 to 5 days to do the whole trek back and forth. But yeah, even they did not really know what to expect exactly, because they haven't even done the hike in the summertime when it's kind of okay to do it. Funny thing is, if you Google for Cabo Froward for the hike, you will find some trip reports, and one of them said something like, you have to be either very adventurous, a bit out of your mind, or German to do this hike. And yeah, I think I'm all three of these things at the same time. And they said it because they met some Germans doing the hike, and they were just like kind of stripping naked to their underpants, taking their backpack on top of their head, and just crossing the river without even checking anything, how deep it is, or like they would just go through it without like, you know, bothering too much. But yeah, the hike requires a bit of planning for sure. So I've done all the planning with a high and low tide, and I decided to do the trek even with the bad weather. So this was actually after, like, they dropped me off and the rain kind of stopped a little bit, but you can see on the road it was still super, super wet. And the good thing is I'm next to the ocean. So you can also see that here on the picture. Wait. Okay. I'm next to the ocean. So that was actually the reason why I decided to do the hike, because I knew there would be a lot of river crossings that would be really, really hard, because even in the perfect summer weather, they're super hard, the three main rivers. So if you do it in this weather condition, like this, for instance here, that's normally not even a stream. That's not showing up on any map, but because of all the rain, there was so much more water coming out of that forest, basically, and all the small, tiny streams and rivers, they were completely swelling up into huge, you know, rapids already. That's a small one, actually. So just to give you like a little bit of a heads up, I didn't even make it to the first big river crossing because all these small ones before that were already too tough. But the good thing is that I was never really in a big danger of, like, you know, drowning or hitting my head against something, because as you can see, I'm right next to the ocean. So should I fall into a river, it would just be like a quick swim into the ocean, and then I could just swim out again. It's not like, you know, in a situation where you can get into a raging river and then like float down for hours, you know, and hit your head on rocks. That's a really bad picture taking with my GoPro. But basically all of these usually, like, normally there's nothing. And I was already like thinking, oh my god, that's gonna be fun. Same with this one. This one is not even on the map as a river. And judging on that picture, I think the distance was around, let me try to remember, from one end to the other, was around 5 meters maybe. And the water was flowing quite fast. And that was actually the first spot where I had to kind of make a decision. Should I continue now, or should I just call it a day? This is another view from that river that's not even on the map, as I mentioned. So on the map I had like 15 rivers or so. 3 of them I knew are the main ones, the really big ones. They're about 30 meters wide, I think, sometimes. So it's some serious river crossing stuff. But as I mentioned, I didn't even make it to them because I had kind of stuff like that on the way already. So here it got quite dark, and I was sitting at that spot. I was eating a bit, and I was just like kind of waiting and deciding if I should do it or not. Yeah, then I made the decision, and as you can imagine, I went for it. And I was basically walking. I was basically walking into the river. I had my shoes in my hand, basically. Took the pants off, and when you cross a river, very important. Well, in this situation, it doesn't really matter too much because you're next to the ocean. But let's just imagine there's no ocean, and there would be a chance that you could kind of get in the river and then just lose control and drift down the river. You always have to unbuckle your waist belt. So basically, over here, you know, all the trekking belts, all the trekking backpacks, they have a belt around the waist. So just make sure that you don't tie this up, because if you should fall in the river, you have to kind of let go of your backpack. And you don't want to be stuck at it. So yeah, I had my backpack without the waist thingy, and I do my first steps, and the first step was okay because it was not that deep yet, and then second and third step, I kind of sink a bit deeper because it's kind of this loose sand, you know, so you kind of sink in a little bit. And right when I'm in the middle, I realize, oh man, it's quite strong actually, because I will have a video later where you can see it a bit better. So the water was kind of flowing quite strong, and often you don't really see it, but it is really strong. You know, once you get your feet in there, you will notice that there's quite a big force behind the river. And then I have like, I think 2 steps left. I take the second last step, and then I'm actually falling into this damn river. I threw my boots to the other side, just to make sure that they're safe. But my backpack, basically, I was kind of falling to the right, so into this area here, and all the water was floating into my backpack completely. It was kind of just filled with water after a few seconds. And yeah, that's obviously a really bad thing to have, because you have the sleeping bag and it's a down sleeping bag. And yeah, this is how my stuff looked afterwards. So what I did, I set up my tent right after. So I was like, okay, shit, this is really bad. If I struggle with these little rivers that are not even on the map, there's no way I can cross the 30-meter high wide rivers later on, and they would probably be kind of super deep, maybe even like up to 2 meters. So I set up my tent, and I made a decision to reassess the situation the next morning. But I already kind of made the decision that I wouldn't go further unless it gets much better, because as a backstory, a week after this moment here, I had a trip to Antarctica booked. So that's something you can't cancel last second. So if you cancel it, you lost $5,000 minimum. So I really didn't want to get like sick and having a cold. And as you can see, all of this is soaking wet. That's my down jacket. That's a soft shell. That's the hard shell here. My backpack, my boots, and of course my sleeping bag, completely drenched in water. That night was pretty cold as well, so stay around until it was dry. Well, it was in the middle of the night and it started to rain as well afterwards. So I had everything in my tent, but this stuff is not drying anytime soon. You know, you need to have some proper sunlight to shine on it. But yeah, sadly there was no sunlight. So that was a river crossing that I will never forget. Fire. Well, if you set it up correctly, you could do it, yeah. You don't want to get this stuff too close to a fire, though. And with the rain and the wind, it's not really an option in this situation, sadly. I was also completely exhausted because at that point I was hiking for like 6 hours already. And I had a bunch of river crossings until this happened here. So I was just not in the mood to kind of arrange a huge campsite and make fire. So yeah, that's me accepting the situation. Sitting in my wet sleeping bag, and that's obviously the thing is with the sleeping bag, it dries a bit from your body heat, but it's still super wet. You can also see my tent here. Which was actually just a tent that I was, it was not my main tent, it was just a tent that I was borrowing for the trip. Local brand. Yeah, that's where I set up my tent. This stuff I didn't even see when I set the tent up because it was dark, and basically I was setting it up next to a swamp. Yeah, that's the next morning, so the weather was much better already. You can still see all the mist hanging around, and there was still a light rain, but at least it kind of became a bit better. So I decided to walk further for a while. I really wanted to see like maybe the first major river crossing, and that's also a really cool picture here with the tree. That tree is kind of bent by the wind because the Tierra del Fuego, the most southern part of Argentina, it's one of the windiest places in the world, and the trees are just kind of starting to bend like that. And I walked a bit further. There's a lighthouse here, and just when I got to that spot, for the first time, I could see a tiny bit of blue sky. Not much, but you know, I'm an optimist, so I was like, yeah, it's getting better. And as you can see here, that's just like 2 minutes later. It got much nicer. This is actually the like the first decent picture actually from the whole trip. But it was still kind of very cloudy. So I was continuing the hike for a bit longer. That's a cool one. It's a little fishing boat coming from the back. I think this picture is actually not the best. As you can see the top left, that's from if you have dust or dirt in your sensor, basically between your camera body and the lens, you can have the problem that it's dirty inside there, and then it looks like that. But this one is better. I cut it off. I think this is actually my favorite picture because it looks so from this day. It looks so mysterious, you know. And I didn't even see the boat at the first time. I just heard the engine, and then it came out of the fog. That was really cool. Yeah, now you can see a bit more from the landscape. It's a lot of coastal hiking, so you're always along the beach, basically. Oh, there's another tree here in the back. A bent tree by the wind. Yeah, and on the way, so basically I walked so I already made the decision that I'm not gonna attempt the other river crossings, even if the weather got better. But the problem was that there was not enough sunshine to get all my stuff completely dry. And the hike is around 5 to 6 days. So if I would continue without knowing if the weather gets much better or not, I would really, well, be in jeopardy in terms of getting sick, you know, because a day and a night in clothes that's completely soaking wet, that's okay. But 5-6 days, that could really get you a massive cold. So I made the decision to walk back again, but I'm happy that I got a bit further to take some more pictures. And just to compare, this is the river crossing that basically cost me the trip. So this is the river on the next day, much smaller, and this is where I basically fell down, and I put my tent here in the forest. So when I crossed it, I think it was like from here to here. So now it's already much lower. You got another perspective here, so you could even just jump over it here. So that's a huge difference compared to when I attempted to cross it in the night. This is a nice reflection picture. That's basically on the way back, already kind of close to the road. You can see you could already drive here, but it was all super fully grown with trees. So that I think maybe in the past they had a road there. But yeah, let me show you the video. This is the beginning of the hike. So it's 32 miles. I know kilometers, 32 kilometers one way. So it's 64 kilometers, but with all the river crossings, it takes a while. Yeah, okay, there's a little spider walking over the border. I thought that was pretty cool. Some nice looking trees. And dolphins! They have dolphins there. I saw a bunch of them jumping around, actually. So that's kind of a nice bonus when you do a hike. Seeing some dolphins jumping around next to you. Alright, and now I'll mute the sound a bit. I just want to show you like some impressions. So this is one of the streams from the beginning. That's not a big deal. You have to balance over it was super wet as well, so it's not completely easy either because it was so slippery. But yeah, all of these should not be there. This one should not be there. It's not even on the map. But this is how it looked after a week of heavy rain. Yeah, but as you can see this is the spot where I was kind of falling in. And you have the ocean right next to you, so I was what am I saying here?
High tide in combination with rain the whole day makes rivers so big that are not even on the map. Just like this one here. Maybe I can find a way through the forest. I'll check it out.
So first, I was looking for an alternative way, right? Before I was crossing it. And I found this one. Would you cross on this one? You could, well, I wouldn't dare crossing this standing up for sure with a heavy backpack being so slippery. And you could probably just sit on it and hope it doesn't break. But yeah, I decided, look out the water.
There were some trees, but they're really,
How wide? Wait, let's go back there. So that's about 6 meters maybe. How wide? Not wide enough to have both feet next to each other. Well, it gets wider over here, but well, maybe around that. So it's kind of a balance act for sure. Kind of scary.
There were some trees, but they're really slippery, and with a heavy backpack.
See how dark it gets now?
I think it's not the best idea. The water is retreating very fast now because we're getting to low tide soon. Well, not soon, but in 3 hours. So I just had my dinner. And well, I was already prepared to walk a few hours in the dark, so now I just have to walk 2 more hours in the dark.
Yeah, so basically I was waiting there for a while, eating, because that, like, the water level was kind of going down, but it just, you know, high tide, low tide, it's not like it's going from 1 second to the other. It took forever, so at some point I was, yeah, I just decided to cross. Yeah, then I have a bunch of, yeah. So, I just want to show you the end. I'll leave the sound off, but those are basically the same river crossings. This is the one where I fell down. I think I have a little comparison there as well. Got my hair cut. This is like, whenever my hair gets a bit longer, it gets super curly. Camera is focused on the background, sadly. I'll try to make better videos of it in my next trip. Yeah, you could just jump over there now. It's such a big difference. Not the greatest bridge then. Yep, exactly. Do you remember what you had for dinner? I think it was just like some bread and cheese and sausage. That, like salami or something. That's what I usually get on my trip. God, I'm talking a lot there. Woolly here. Ah, yeah. That's the difference. So this is how it looked on the way back. And then I cut in the way in again. Yeah, and it's just because of the rain, you know. Maybe a day later and it would have been kind of back to normal. Do I have a dolphin actually on video? Let me check. I'm not sure if I caught a dolphin on the video. This looks like an art painting or so. It looks like I don't have the dolphin. Nah, this is already on the way out. Yeah, and that was my trip to Cabo Froward. Definitely check it out if you're in the area, but maybe don't do it in the bad weather because it's really a challenge if you have that much rain coming out. Yeah, I hope you liked it. Thank you so much for joining in, and for the rest of you guys, stick around.